Major developments happen in the Middle East that we're going to get you up to date on. Is Iran's nuclear facility about to be struck by Israel? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to show you the White House's response. Also, we're going to show you something that happened in Israel that has major prophetic significance and again is yet another harbinger. We got all of this to cover on tonight's program. So let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, guys? This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. It is Thursday night, October 10th. We want to welcome you to tonight's program. Listen, can you guys do me a favor? Let me know if you're new to the program. If it's your first time joining us and you're in the chat or you're watching and you're able to comment, let us know in the comment section below that you're new and where you guys are joining us from. And of course, I'm Ricky Scaparro, the founder and the voice of End Time Headlines. And again, we welcome everybody on Apple and Spotify and wherever you listen to us on your podcast or wherever you get your podcast from. We welcome you tonight. Again, we got a lot to cover tonight. This is going to be a major update. And we're excited to be with you guys tonight on this program. Again, don't forget to help us out by hitting that like button. Help us spread the word out there on these platforms. Again, by smashing that like button, you can do that. Take it a step further. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell notification. And then the best option is to get our free app. It is available on Apple and Android devices. Hit yes to push notifications. Once you download that, when you hit that yes to push notifications, you're going to be notified every headline, every podcast, every update, and everything that we put out there right at your fingertips. Now, as we said at the top of this program, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Before we go into the major developments, I want to recap some stuff to you and refresh your memory on some stuff. If you will remember, a week ago, we talked about that I did not believe that it was a quote unquote coincidence that a comet, which was dubbed Comet of the Century, was seen over the heavens, and it was at its brightest peak at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, the new year on the Jewish calendar, also known as the Feast of Trumpets, and it coincided with the day before we entered into Rosh Hashanah, and this comet came to its full brightest appearance. The Middle East made headlines all over the world with another attack that was carried out by Iran. And of course, in that attack, there was several hundreds of missiles that was fired at Israel. And of course, Israel was able to ward off all, I'd say probably 95% or more of these missiles from striking them in all across Israel. And if you had when this went on, if you had there's an app that you can get, and it's like an alert for Israel, and it shows you like if there's rocket attacks or whatever. The entire state of Israel was lit up with warnings because there was an onslaught of rockets being launched at them, missiles being launched at them from Iran. So all of this coincided together, and I said that. There's no way this was a coincidence. And all of you guys who keep up with this stuff, you know this, prophetically speaking, you understand the times and seasons, you understand, and we've taught you so many times that these comets like this, and when they fall on these feast days and they coincide with these things, these are, again, in the book of Genesis, these are for signs and seasons. They're harbingers. These are harbingers. And I believe what we witnessed last week with Iran, or 2 weeks ago, I think it was last week actually. Man, there's so much happening, guys. It's hard to keep track of everything. That I believe that was a prelude to what's coming. So that was kind of the foundation of where we're going. Now I want to give you more up-to-date information on what's going on in the Middle East. All right, we know that the Israeli Defense Force is preparing what they're calling a, quote, significant retaliatory strike to Iran's missile barrage. Now, we're going to give you more in depth on what that actually looks like and what that could be, but there is a broad recommendation within the IDF to respond to the Iranian attack while minimizing risk and maximizing opportunities. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Currently, there is combat taking place ongoing across seven different fronts in the Middle East. Again, 7 fronts. Think about this. Alongside the continued fighting in Gaza and the West Bank, Israeli soldiers and forces are engaged in operations in Lebanon, Iran, and its proxies in Yemen, Syria, and Iraq. Now, again, according to this report, Israel is planning to respond significantly, but has not detailed the nature of what this response will be. I want you to remember this phrase. They have not detailed the nature of what the response will be. The IDF noted that the Iranians launched 201 missiles from Iran to Israel, and some of which impacted targets in Israel. According to this report, the Israeli Defense Forces have threatened to strike in Syria against weapons that originate from Iran and intended for Hezbollah's use. Again, now you guys who know Bible prophecy, that's a huge red flag right there. Israel is threatening to strike in Syria. Remember Isaiah 17, Damascus is in Syria. And the prophet said that eventually, sometime in the future, Damascus will be left a pile of rubble. They'll be left a ruinous heap. Now, since that last assault by Iran on Israel, something else significant happened that I want to show you. There is speculation that Iran conducted an underground nuclear test on last weekend, of the recording of this last weekend. Again, let me say that again. There is speculation that Iran conducted an underground nuclear test as of early as last weekend, because there was a magnitude 4.5 that was picked up on the USGS Richter scale. And again, this took place on Saturday night, October 5th. Strangely enough, both of the countries experienced the earthquake at a marginal difference in the timing. In such a situation, it is being speculated whether Iran has conducted a nuclear test. The earthquake occurred in the Aradan city of Simnan province of Iran. Its intensity again measured at a 4.5 on the Richter scale. The earthquake occurred around 10:45 p.m. local time, and its epicenter was at a depth of only 10 kilometers from the ground. The tremors were felt in Tehran, which is 110 kilometers away from the epicenter of the quake. And again, a few minutes later, an earthquake was also reported from Israel. According to the report of the European Mediterranean Seismic Center, this earthquake occurred around 12 o'clock, but its intensity remained very low. Many have gone to social media sites to emphasize that they believe that these were not natural earthquakes, but there is very high probabilities that this was the work of Iran's nuclear testing, and as they are preparing for war and conflict against Israel. There have been speculations in many reports, again, that these were indeed underground nuclear tests done by Iran. Now, we're on the same topic here, but I want to show you something that I think is major significance. And this is where we got the title of this and everything in here. I want to show you, this is from Israel 365 News. For the first time since the Second Temple in Jerusalem, a silver trumpet was blasted again in Jerusalem at the Temple Mount. And this just occurred, guys, and it has not occurred since the Second Temple. Now, why is it significant? Let's talk about this. On Thursday night, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, a group of Jews smuggled a ram's horn, or a ritual ram's horns, plural tense, onto the Temple Mount. And despite police efforts to stop them, These group of Jews blew all of the requisite shofar blasts for the Feast of Trumpets. Again, we talked about that Feast of Trumpets. There's a cessation of trumpets that are blown, and each one of these trumpet sounds represents certain things. And this is why a lot of people equate the rapture of the church with the Feast of Trumpets, because the last trumpet is the longest and loudest, and it actually means to gather together. In my opinion, I believe this is what the Apostle Paul was referring to when he was speaking to the church of Thessalonica in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 through 17, where he talks about the voice of an archangel, the voice is a trumpet. Come on, and he talks about this, he's referencing the rapture, and then he's speaking to the church of Corinth, and he talks about the last trump, and he never had to give, again, details on what he was talking about, because this was a Jewish audience, and they all understood this. They understood this holiday. They understood the Feast of Trumpets. But nevertheless, let me get back to this article. According to this report, this was the first time since this has occurred, since the second temple stood, that the shofar has sounded at Judaism's most holy site, again in Jerusalem, there at the Temple Mount. Josh Wander, who is a resident of the Mount of Olives, described the experience. Quote, "On the first day of the holiday, approximately 50 Jews ascended to the mount at 7 a.m. The first moment Jews were permitted to enter the holy site," Wander told Israel 365 News. "Many of them were wearing their traditional holiday attire. They prayed the entire Rosh Hashanah service, which included 13 prostrations." Again, these are rituals that they do. The Torah commands the Jews to prostrate themselves before God on the Temple Mount, and it is strictly forbidden for a Jew to prostrate himself in prayer in any other location. Again, this is why they were doing this. The report went on to say that when, quote, "it came time to blow the shofar, one person pulled out a minimal size shofar about the size of a hand and blew the requisite notes. The sound was not very loud or beautiful, but it was the first time a shofar had been sounded at Judaism's holiest site since the second temple was destroyed." Quote, "When they realized what was happening, the police rushed over and confiscated the shofar, removing the man from the Temple Mount. We continued praying, and when we got to the next section of shofar blast, another person produced a tiny shofar and blew the notes again. The police rushed over, confiscating the shofar and removing the man. We continued praying, and every time we came to the shofar section, a different man blew a tiny shofar. In the end, 6 men were removed from the site and 6 tiny shofars were confiscated. But all of the requisite 100 shofar blasts were completed. In addition, just outside of the eastern wall of the Temple Mount, a man was positioned with a large shofar and a silver temple trumpet. Listen to this. And he began to sound the trumpet. Wander explained the prophetic significance of this event, and he quotes the book of Joel and Joel 2:1, "Blow a shofar in Zion, sound an alarm on my holy mount. Let all the dwellers on earth tremble, for the day of the Lord has come. It is close." Now listen to this very closely, what I'm about to tell you. Wander then elaborated that the blowing of the silver trumpets in a time of war is a sign to the Jewish people, and it signifies a time of war and trouble again for the Jewish people. Now, another verse that's cited in this is Isaiah 27:13. I'm going to read this to you. "So it shall be in that day, the great trumpet will be blown. They will come who are about to perish in the land of Assyria, and they who are outcast in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem." Now, why is all this significant? Well, let me do a quick recap for you, just to make sure you're paying attention and make sure that you're putting the puzzle pieces together. So we have this great and fearful sight from heaven. We have a comet. The ancients and even rabbis who, again, are in Israel, and those who have the understanding of the times and seasons in which we're in, We see these things as harbingers. And then consequently, this comet falls in the same time frame as as we enter into the Feast of Trumpets in Israel, and a major attack comes from Iran against Israel. And now there is rumors and speculation that it's not a matter of if, but when Israel retaliates. But the question is, how are they going to retaliate? How are they going to respond to Iran? So here we have, for the first time since the second temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, we had a group of 50 Jews that somehow, this is unbelievable, was able to get there in Jerusalem at the temple around that area, blow 100 shofar blasts, and one of these was the silver trumpet of war, which indicates it's a sign. All the Jews there understood this. They see this as a sign of war and conflict. It's a warning going out. Now, here's what I want to show you. Now, this is a headline from the New York Times. Washington worries the Israelis will bomb Iran's nuclear sites, but can they? Let me say that again. Washington is worried that Israel is going to bomb Iran's nuclear site. Look at this paragraph. For 22 years, Israeli forces have planned for this moment, but it seems unlikely that they will strike Iran's nuclear facilities in the next round of retaliation, or that they would be successful without American help. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. In fact, according to the report, 2 years ago, back in 2022, dozens of Israeli fighter jets roared over the Mediterranean Sea, simulating a strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, a drill the Israeli Defense Forces openly advertised as an exercise in, quote, long-range flight aerial refueling and striking distant targets. The entire point of this exercise was not simply to intimidate Iran, but it was also designed to send a message to the Biden administration, which was that, quote, the Israeli Air Force was training to conduct the operation alone. Wow, guys. Wow. Do you realize the prophetic significance of that statement? Even though chances of success would be far higher if the U.S., with its arsenal of 30,000-pound bunker busters, joined the attack, in interviews, former and current senior Israeli officials acknowledged doubts about whether the country has the capability to do significant damage to Iran's nuclear facilities. Nonetheless, for the past few days, Pentagon officials have been wondering quietly whether the Israelis are preparing to do it alone. Let me say that again. Pentagon officials are wondering. The Biden administration is sweating bullets, worried. Kamala Harris worried that Israel is going to say, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. We don't need your help. We've got this. After concluding that they may never again have a moment like this opportunity. Let me say that again. The opportunity for Israel to finally, after 22 years of preparation, to strike at the head of the serpent once and for all and wipe out their nuclear facility, there's a window of opportunity, a window and a space open. And Iran knows this. And this is why I believe they're carrying out underground nuclear tests. The Ayatollahs know this. They're preparing. We did a whole podcast on the prophetic significance of Iran in Bible prophecy. All of that. You need to go watch that. We've got that archived. Now listen to this. President Biden has warned Israel against striking nuclear or energy sites, saying any response should be proportionate to the Iranian attack on Israel last week. In fact, let me show you this, and we'll go back to this. And let me show you what Biden has said. Okay? Biden has come out and stated that he will not support an Israeli attack on nuclear facilities or oil installations. We got a video here I want to show you.
President Biden spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Wednesday. According to the White House statement, the president affirmed his commitment to Israel's security and urged Israeli forces to minimize harm to civilians in Lebanon. The United Nations says 25% of Lebanon is under an evacuation order as Israel conducts air and ground operations against Hezbollah militants. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer is following the latest from Tel Aviv.
The call between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu was the first time they've spoken in 7 weeks, which reflects the overall frosty relationship there. Washington sources say Kamala Harris was on the call, too. The whole of the Middle East has been on tenterhooks since the 1st of October, when Iran attacked Israel with almost 200 ballistic missiles. And that very night, Benjamin Netanyahu went on national television and said that Iran was going to pay. Well, today...
Okay, remember that. Netanyahu, and this guy has kept his promises, by the way. Every single time that Netanyahu's got up and made these statements, he follows through with it.
Israel's defense minister doubled down on that threat. Yoav Gallant said an Israeli strike against Iran will be lethal, precise, and surprising.
Wow. Now, remember that, surprising. It's going to be such a surprise attack that the White House hasn't even been informed. Look at this headline. Israel keeps U.S. in the dark on Iran retaliation plans, and the White House is furious over this. Again, Israel has gone completely dark. They've gone radio silent. They're not relaying any information to the White House, to Biden, to Kamala Harris, and they're keeping all of this in the dark on what exactly their retaliation plans are.
The question, of course, is what Israel might hit. President Biden has said he won't support an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. America is also putting pressure on Israel not to hit Iran's oil installations, because if it did, oil prices would skyrocket, and so would gas prices at the pump in America, just as the country is heading to the polls. Meanwhile, Israel is continuing to wage war.
In translation, don't do anything that could cause me to look bad in the election. That's the translation there.
Or on two fronts. The bombing in Gaza hasn't let up. In fact, there is a new offensive underway in Jabalia in the northern part of the Strip. And Israel ground forces are fighting Hezbollah inside southern Lebanon. Hezbollah, even though it's been weakened and is in disarray, is firing rockets into Israel. In fact, a barrage of 90 of them killed 2 people today in the town of Kiryat Shimona.
So again, let's just make this clear here. So the Biden administration has warned Israel not to strike their nuclear facilities or their energy sites. Now, despite the Biden administration's warning to Israel that they will not agree to this and they will not support such attacks, Israel seems to not be fazed by this. And again, I showed you that report. They're keeping this under wraps. They're keeping this secret. They're not revealing to U.S. intelligence, and they're not revealing to the White House what their next steps are. And of course, French President Emmanuel Macron calls to stop sending Israel weapons that can be used in Gaza fighting. Let me say that again. French President Emmanuel Macron is calling to stop sending Israel weapons that can be used in Gaza fighting. So guys, listen to this, and I'll pull us back to this article just a second, but think about this. Zechariah 12 is unfolding before your eyes. Remember, let me pull this scripture up. Remember, the prophet told us, Zechariah chapter 12, the prophet said that Jerusalem, in verse 2, would become a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples when they laid siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall happen in that day that Jerusalem will be made a very heavy stone for all the nations, and all who heave it away will be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. And we've told you guys over and over again to be observant and to watch and look and be expecting the nations of the world to turn its back against Israel. And I believe this is why this should not surprise you. And you're going to see this more and more and more. So here we have, again, we have French President Emmanuel Macron on Saturday urges a halt to arms deliveries to Israel, calling for a, quote, political solution in the nearly year-long Gaza war sparked by Hamas, the attacks on October 7th. Quote, I think that today the priority is that we return to a political solution. Well, good luck with that, bud, that we stop delivering weapons to fight in Gaza. Macron tells broadcaster France Inter, adding that France is not sending any arms to Israel. So here is France is completely turned against, they're turning their back on supporting Israel. And again, I want to remind you, the Biden administration has slowly but surely started turning their back. And they've already said, we're not going to support you. If you go and you take out the nuclear facility or the energy sites in Iran, and you try to strike the head of the serpent, you're going to go alone. Now, former President Donald Trump chimed in, and he actually came out and urged Israel to take out Iran's nuclear facilities, and even went as far as to rip Biden for urging the Jewish state, to show restraint.
Trump tells Israel to hit Iran first and worry about the rest later. And by the way, I don't know if you saw his picture with the yarmulke on yesterday. If you can pull up that picture with him and Ben Shapiro, Rob. While campaigning in Carolina, Donald Trump urged Israel to strike Iran's nuclear program first. Rob, do you have this clip? Is this it? Go ahead and play it. Go for it.
I listened to Biden yesterday. You know, since I went under the wing, I used to go under the wing of the aircraft. Nobody ever did that before. I did. All of a sudden, Biden started. But he only takes like a half a question. Usually can't answer it. But they asked him, what do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt the entire military. Jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared, but when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And
so, right off the bat now, we know what this thing's going to look like depending on who wins the election here. Now, I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just saying we have one administration that's demanding restraint. We're not going to strike. If you strike the nuclear facilities, you strike the energy sectors, you're on your own. We're out. And then if Trump wins it, his administration, they're going to completely give the green light to Israel, and they're going to, with the full-fledged support of America, to strike the head of the serpent at their nuclear facilities or whatever that looks like. So I'm going to go back to this clip, but it makes you wonder, is Israel remaining silent and they're on hold until they see how this election goes? Because again, if Trump wins the election, they know they have the full support of America behind them to finish the job. Or if the other way goes and Harris wins the election and this administration stays in office for another 4 years, then again, we could literally see, guys, Israel completely abandoned by the United States for the first time in history. And again, before we freak out about that, remember Ezekiel 38:39, guys, the Gog-Magog war. In my opinion, America is not mentioned there as one of the allies that is supporting Israel. They're absent. They're gone. They're not there. Because Israel fights that war alone.
And that's where they should. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. But we'll find out whatever their plans are. But great question. Thank you very much.
Where was this speech and when was this speech?
But it is what it is. Go ahead, Adam.
Guys, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. No, where was that speech at?
Where was it?
Yeah, was that
America? I don't know.
I'm just wondering where that was. But you saw where Trump was yesterday with Ben Shapiro. It was at the gravesite of probably the most famous rabbi in the last 100 years, the Rabbi Schneerson, basically praying on October 7th. But look, the fact that Trump is loudly and proudly exclaiming, attack Iran's nuclear sites, is a complete game changer. Is that something that it could potentially even happen? Because we know yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel and everything that's basically ensued since then. But what started off as just Israel in a war with Hamas, 1 year later, we're having a conversation. Is Israel going to attack Iran's nuclear capabilities or their oil refineries? And the reality is, as of last week, Iran sent 200 missiles into Israel. By the way, the first attack I think that happened in the spring was the first time that Iran has directly attacked Israel. So that's historical. That for the first time in history, Iran directly attacked Israel. So that's why this is significant. And then again, the recent attacks. And this is why this is mounting pressure on Israel to completely end this thing. Again, cut the head of the serpent off.
And then Israel basically responded. Iran went again because
but this is Hezbollah with Iranian arms. It wasn't Iran launching them.
No. It was Iran, from Iran. Hezbollah, yes. Iran, they launched it from Iran. What's my point? Is that we're waiting on Israel to respond. Like, if history is going to teach us anything, the last time that Iran sent missiles from Iran into Israel, Israel responded.
Yep.
And now Iran did it again. So we're literally waiting on Iran's response. I'm sorry, on Israel's response. Now, where will they go after? The oil refinery, the nuclear capabilities, or will it be a tit-for-tat thing? But, Pat, in your perspective, has the Iranian regime ever been this close to being dismantled since 1979 if Israel attacks their nuclear capabilities or their oil refineries?
I thought Netanyahu was going to make a statement on Sunday. I thought on Sunday Netanyahu was going to hit Esfahan. I thought he was going to hit Abadan. I thought he was going to hit those two places on Sunday as a 1-year anniversary statement to make. Because, again, my opinion, if you're this far in a fight, if you go this far in a fight and you back out, why'd you go this far in the first place?
That's what I was saying earlier. That's significant. You're already this far into it. You have to go all the way. You have to take out. This is like stunning Goliath with the stone, but that wasn't enough. David had to do more than just stun him with the stone. The stone knocked him down, but it was the sword that took him out. So in my opinion, Israel, they've struck the giant with the stone, but now they've got to take the sword and remove the head of the serpent.
Smaller question I got. If
you're saying Israel or Iran going this far?
Again, I said this the other day, if you're in a bar fight, you take out a gun and you shoot once at a bar, and these other fighters and gangsters are over there, and you shoot one shot at the bar, and you break a bottle of Louis whatever, a whistle pick. You're like, okay. What are you doing? And then you get out. I'm going to go home. Yeah. Bro, those 5 guys are coming after you in the next 24, 48 hours.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Finish it job.
If you went in, again, I'm not telling him what to do. All I'm saying is, if you're playing this hardcore, this far, 5,000 beepers, whatever it was, I don't know how many pages, 300 beepers, right? Yeah. At 3:31, all explode at the same time, and you saw the videos, and you're using this method of madness on the levels you're going, and Nasrallah gets killed. The new guy takes the job over Tom. You made a very good point. You're like, the guy that replaced Nasrallah gets killed, and then Tom's like, the job interview, and nobody wants a job now. It's just like,
no, I'm good.
Hey, you're going to get a promotion?
No, I don't want.
I don't want
no,
the promotion,
I'm good.
right?
I'm good.
So I think, I don't know. I think where he's going, And Trump's making a statement. Not a lot of people are happy. Some of the people that the people that are kind of like the what do you call it? The factions of why is he doing this? Mm-hmm. See, did they own him? And he's owned by this and all this other stuff. They're going to say that kind of stuff to him. You know what he's saying? Well, what do you want me to do? You want him to go wear a what do you call it? A turban? Is that what you want him to do?
What?
I mean, no. What I'm asking is, if he has to choose between wearing the yarmulke or the turban, what do you think he's going to wear? You think Trump's going to wear a turban like that and say, yeah, here's what I'm doing. That's what's going to happen. No. So, but the
all right. So again, we see this all building up. All of this is building up, and now I want to show you some other stuff here real quick. I want to show you that this is from Newsweek. I thought this was very intriguing because of the timing of this. Let me read this headline. Exiled Crown Prince calls for, and I quote, peace in the Middle East and an end to Iran's government. Let me read that headline one more time right in front of you. Exiled Crown Prince calls for peace in the Middle East and an end to Iran's government. The former Crown Prince of Iran called for an end to the Islamic Republic government to bring peace to the Middle East. This was according to a video posted on X on October 7th at the anniversary. Again, this former Crown Prince, whose name I'm not going to even try to pronounce because I'll probably slaughter it, whose family was exiled from Iran following the 1979 revolution, has called for an end to the current government in Tehran and the reinstatement of democracy in the nation. After saying that Iran facilitated the October 7th attacks in Israel and fueled sectarian conflicts in countries across the Middle East, he also emphasized that this is, quote, not the Iranian people's war and promoted ousting the government. So this guy's calling for the entire government of Iran to be toppled in the name of peace. Quote, so I say to you, our friends across the Middle East, our region deserves so much better. But in order to succeed, first, this regime that has held us hostage for nearly a half a century must go. Quote, the Middle East is all too familiar with turmoil and upheaval, so I know you might fear change will bring chaos, but fear not. We will not allow a power vacuum to follow the collapse of this regime. Quote, I will step forward at the call to oversee this peaceful transition to democracy and Iran's return to the community of nations. Quote, peace is neither a relic of history nor a distant dream. It is a promise we owe to ourselves and our children, and together we can make it reality. The video has since gone viral and gained 7.1 million views, 49,000 likes, and 21,000 reposts, and 7,300 comments. And the majority are in the support of the former Crown Prince. So here's a picture of this guy. This is the guy making this statement. Folks, listen, why is this significant? I think this is significant for several reasons. Because if you know your Bible, now I'm not saying, I want to make a disclaimer here. I want to preface this by saying, I'm not saying that this guy's the Antichrist, but guys, that speech, that statement, everything he's saying here, does it not sound like something that you would hear based on what you know of Scripture? For example, in Daniel 9:27, the prophet tells us that whoever this Antichrist is that's coming in the future, he is going to confirm a covenant that will already be put in place of 7 years with the nation of Israel and the surrounding nations. Let me say that again. Whoever this Antichrist is that has not been revealed yet, but Paul said to the church of Thessalonica, he'll be revealed in his time after the restrainer is removed from the earth. In my opinion, I believe it's the church. When the church is removed, the restrainer that was holding back the revealing of the Antichrist will be removed from the equation. The Antichrist will be fully revealed. And according to Daniel 9:27, he is going to come on the scene in the name of peace. Are you hearing this? In the name of peace and diplomacy, he will affirm or confirm something that's already in place, which is a treaty with the nation of Israel and surrounding nations. Again, why would a treaty of peace even need to be put in place? The answer is from now until that signing of that peace treaty of Daniel 9:27, it appears, it appears that there's going to be a series of conflicts, wars, factions, attacks. This thing in the Middle East is going to it's just going to explode. It's going to cause such chaos and turmoil, economically speaking. Societal impacts will come from this. Who knows how far-reaching it will be? Apparently, I believe it's going to impact Syria. Damascus is going to be involved. There could be conflicts like Psalm 83, where there's a coalition of nations that will form to come and take out Israel. But again, God will spare Israel. God will defend Israel. And it will be such a bloodbath, if you would, that the United Nations and all of these organizations will demand peace and safety. And here we have, very interesting to me, that the former crown prince of Iran is saying that we need peace in the Middle East and that the government of Iran be toppled. Now, again, I want to pull this up. Paul made it clear to us, folks, in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. We know perfectly that the day of the Lord is coming as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But he tells us, come on, this is our hope, brothers and sisters. We are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake us as a thief in the night. Friends, I could go another 45 minutes and talk about the increasement of birth pains and disasters, even in the past 2 weeks. But we're going to save that for another podcast. You'll be stunned to hear some new information that's coming out that pertains to America. I'm telling you, I really believe the final wake-up call is here. We, at one point, I don't even know if we are anymore, but at one point, most theologians and scholars would agree, and missionaries, that we as America, as the nation as a whole, I don't know if we are anymore, but was or is the greatest Gentile nation. Okay? And we make up the greatest, at one point, we made up the greatest source of missionaries being sent out around the world and taking the gospel around the world. But now there is some that speculate that's not the case anymore, because America is going in blindness. And remember, Paul told us in Romans 11 that blindness is in part until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in. And then there's going to come a shift, and God's going to turn back to the Jews. So that's why everything that we're talking about tonight is so significant and so majorly prophetic. So I want to leave you, as always, with Luke 21:28. When Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is surely drawing near. Listen, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. That's where you're going to find us. Please get our free app, available on Apple and Android devices. Get it in your Play Store. When you download it, hit yes to push notifications. Everything's going to be right at your fingertips. And again, guys, don't forget to smash that like button. Help us out. Also, if this ministry blesses you, encourages you, equips you, informs you, all the above, right there on the screen, you could pray about becoming a monthly partner. You could do that 2 different ways. You can give electronically through the app, through the main website. If you guys are watching this by YouTube, at the top, posted either in the comments or the live chat, you'll see where it says support in big bold letters. You can just click on there. These are easy ways that you can support and partner with us. Or you can go old school, check or money order. You could do that, End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia, 30655. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this segment. Again, we came on here earlier today. Some of you are scratching your head saying, wait a minute, wasn't you just on you? Guys, we are doing, be looking for more often. We're going to do these short, like 15, 20 minute breaking news updates. So you may see us go live in the middle of the day. But we're still going to continue our main programs at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, right here. Same time, same place, same channel. But in between that, if there's a breaking news or something comes up, I think it's significant to get the information out there. We'll alert you and we'll send out an alert. That's why I tell you, subscribe to the channel, get the app and and it'll send you a notification so you can keep up with everything we're doing and everything that's going on. And again, don't forget, guys, every Monday night, right here on our YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, live prayer. We come together as a corporate time of prayer with our body of believers, our family, our church family, and we pray and we intercede for the needs of the people, our nation, the world, and whatever events are going on in situations, we pray accordingly. So that's every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you're listening by Apple, Spotify, by Rumble, YouTube, by Instagram, Twitter, whatever, you need to come over here and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel so you can be a part of this. So guys, we're going to sign off for tonight. We plan to be on here tomorrow. Again, we'll be here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. But if there's something that we need to get out to you guys information-wise, be looking for those alerts, and we'll send those out as well. So we love you guys. We appreciate you. And until we see you tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, whatever the case may be, or both, we pray the Lord bless you. May he keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.